The president will melt into a more bipartisan tone.
The fact that we would have our troops in harm's way for whatever reason is reason enough for us to come together to work for the good of our country.
For Good Morning America, Claire Shipman, ABC News, Washington.
And in California, waking up to what the LA Times is calling a political landslide, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger walked off with a decisive win. But across the West, some of the biggest fireworks were over hotly contested voter initiatives. ABC's Heather Nauert is live in Los Angeles with the details there. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Robin. All across the West, voter turnout was heavy. Folks went to the polls to vote for candidates, but also to vote on ballot initiatives. Here in California, there were 13 initiatives on the ballot, outlined here in this 200-page voter guide. But the real headline out of California is that Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger won his first election to a full term. A resounding victory for Arnold Schwarzenegger, a man accustomed to making sequels.
I love doing sequels.
Just 1 year ago, California voters rejected his 4 controversial ballot propositions. But that hasn't stopped the propositions from weighing down the ballot. Proposition 87 was the most hotly contested and most expensive ballot fight ever waged here. It would have levied a $4 billion tax on California oil producers to spur the use of alternative energy.
America has to change.
Despite high-profile backers such as Bill Clinton, it failed. Nationwide, voters faced more than 200 ballot initiatives, 40 more than in 2004. In no place are they more prevalent than in the West. In Colorado, less than a week after revelations about evangelical leader Ted Haggard, voters here rejected measures outlawing gay marriage and benefits to same-sex couples. In South Dakota, the most contested race centered around a ballot initiative that would have banned nearly all abortions in the state. The law would have been the strictest in the nation. It failed. Arizona was the state with the most initiatives. 3 cracking down on illegal immigrants passed. But in what is arguably the single most unusual initiative, Arizonans voted against a lottery that would have given $1 million to a voter in each general election. Supporters hoped the measure would have encouraged more people to vote. We spoke to an expert who follows all these voter initiatives. He said expect to see a lot more of them in the future. One reason, politicians, it's an easy way for them to avoid hot-button issues like the minimum wage. Robin?
That's one way of doing it. All right, Heather, thank you. And now we go to Chris Cuomo with this morning's other headlines.
Good morning, America. That's a live shot. You wouldn't know it's morning, but it is in the capital of the United States. You're looking at the Capitol building in the distance there, Pennsylvania Avenue. And maybe the fog is a symbol as we await the results on the Senate and who will control the Senate. Montana and Virginia still counting this morning as we say hello again. Diane Sawyer here with Robin Roberts, Chris Cuomo, Sam Champion.
Sam Champion couldn't take his eyes off of the fog. He's like, I want to say something, but I have to. You were?
No, you were right. I was like, fog.
Well, what is clear this morning, and not in the fog, is that the Democrats have gained control of the House. And we thought in this half hour we'd be asking how this seismic shift in power will affect your family, your life, your wallet. We have all the players here to break down what the results really will mean for you in the coming months.
And there's also other news this morning. I don't know how this got lost on Election Day, but in case you haven't heard, Britney Spears, she has filed for divorce from her husband, Kevin Federline. What will happen to their 2 young children? You always have to keep the kids in mind. And also her $50 million fortune will take you inside their high-stakes split a little bit later.
But we do know that this morning the president is waking up to a whole new political world, perhaps a little bleary-eyed. We know he stayed up past his bedtime, which is usually very early. He stayed in the White House. He gathered a group of people around him. We're told what they ate. They ate beef and corn soup. Make of that what you will. Apple tart. I know these things.
Fact is a fact.
And ABC's chief White House correspondent Martha Raddatz is here to tell us about the latest on the White House reaction to these results this morning. Martha.
Diane, the president was up late last night, far past his bedtime. He had met with aides during the evening, watching the returns come in. Just before midnight, a White House spokesman said that the group was disappointed by the House returns. That's all they had last night, but the Senate numbers were starting to come in. But the president was up early this morning calling winners and losers in the race. He called outgoing Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, and the likely incoming Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. A person familiar with those calls said Representative Pelosi told the president, "Your success is our success," and that President Bush told Representative Pelosi, "I think we can work together for the next 2 years." The two have not had a very good relationship in the past. The president did invite Nancy Pelosi to lunch on Thursday, so the president and Pelosi will dine at the White House on Thursday. And this afternoon, the president is going to have a full-scale press conference. He will likely get some very tough questions. Diane?
All right, Martha, will stay with us this morning because we do have those results coming in. I keep thinking of Lyndon Johnson saying that in moments like this, being president's like being a donkey in a hailstorm. You just got to stand there and figure out what you're going to do next.
Weather the storm. All right. Thank you, Diane. And the question this morning is not simply who won, but how will the winners change your world, from your wallets to your families to your futures? Joining us now to tackle those questions in Washington, a woman who has, well, she's read the tea leaves for many, many elections. ABC's Cokie Roberts, good to see her. Also, senior national correspondent Claire Shipman is back with us. And in Memphis, financial contributor Melody Hobson. She is president also of Ariel Capital Management. Let's start money first, Melody. The first time in 12 years that the Democrats have control of the House. Not sure what's going to happen in the Senate right now. What does that mean for the economy?
It's probably going to be very good for the economy. If history is any indication, it's been clear that the economy likes it when the parties do not control both the House, the Senate, and the White House. And basically what happens, there's gridlock. And the gridlock means it's not easy to spend money, and it's not easy to pass a lot of laws that makes it hard to run a business. And that's good for the economy.
And as far as the House is concerned, and now that you have Democrats that will be in charge of these very powerful committees, what programs do you see changing right away?
Well, I think the one that the Democrats have made the most noise about is minimum wage. The minimum wage has not gone up in 9 years. And if you look at it on an inflation-adjusted basis, it is at its lowest level since 1955. So it really has been hard for the rank-and-file American to do very well. They've been disappointed by this, and I think they're going to go in and push hard for minimum wage to go up.
All right, Melody, thank you. Let's move on to Claire now and talk about the war, because we've said over and over this morning, you know, watching the exit polls and just a referendum on Iraq and on President Bush. But going back to Iraq, Claire, are we going to see a difference now? Is it going to be different now in Iraq?
Well, I think we will see a difference. It's going to be slow, obviously. We're not going to see an immediate difference. But here's what's likely to happen. First of all, the Republicans and this administration are going to have to acknowledge what the voters have said at the polls, that they're concerned about Iraq and that they've lost faith in many of them, in the Republicans and in this administration, to do the job. Having a Democratic-controlled Congress is going to give them an enormous amount of power over, for example, investigations. We may see some investigations launched in terms of the start of the war, how the war has been conducted. Furthermore, there's the power of the purse. So Democrats will have some amount of oversight pressure and financial pressure to push the White House, but also there's the Baker Commission waiting in the wings. They've been studying this. The former Secretary of State, James Baker, has been looking at this issue. A lot of Republicans say behind the scenes they see this as some sort of way out for President Bush, a way to try to solve this problem, to look at a drawdown of U.S. troops, and they're waiting for Baker to offer the president the cover to do that, if you will. So I think that might come together.
All right, Claire, thank you. Let's move on to ethics now and bring in Cokie Roberts, because there are a lot of issues that both sides were hoping would bring people to the polls, such as stem cell research, and as we said, a very good night for Michael J. Fox, all those that he backed, and also gay marriage. So what is the impact that we saw there, Cokie?
Well, it's in the states, Robin, and really what happens in Washington on those issues doesn't mean very much. Washington's not going to pass a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. The states, and 8 states it was on the ballot, and 7 of them have put in some restriction on gay marriage and civil unions in some cases. Arizona, it seems to be maybe going down, that restriction. We'll see. It's still too close to call. On stem cells, the Congress on Republican hands. passed stem cell research, and the president vetoed it, his only veto. So I think maybe the Democrats will bring it back up, and we'll see what the president will do. It appears that the plan to allow stem cell research to go forward in Missouri has narrowly passed. Again, very close vote, still counting.
Still counting. I also want to ask you, and I know something that's very close to you. Your mother, of course, was a pioneer when it came to the House, and was first from Louisiana, first woman congresswoman from Louisiana, one of like 16 women at that time in the 70s. Now we have Nancy Pelosi as a Speaker of the House. How significant is that, Koki?
Oh, I think it's tremendously significant, and we're likely to have 70-some women in the House, maybe 80, and 16 in the Senate. These are big advances, but Nancy Pelosi will bring a style that is different to the speakership. Let me just tell you one little tidbit. Her daughter Alexandra is due to have a baby any minute, and everybody knew that if that baby came, that Nancy Pelosi, regardless of the fact that she was about to take over the House and have the great night of her life, was ready to leave and just go to her daughter. I think you wouldn't necessarily see that with a male speaker, and it is just a difference. We've seen over the years women in the House and Senate reaching across party lines on issues that matter to women, children, and families, particularly economic issues, issues relating to health. And I think you're likely to see much more of that in this regime.
Most likely so. Okay, Koki, thank you, all three. Koki Roberts, Claire Shipman, and Melody Hobson, thank you for putting it all in perspective for us this morning. Sure do appreciate that. What's the first issue you want to see the new Congress address? Why don't you let us know at our website at abcnews.com, the GMA page. Now let's get to Sam and another check of the weather.